Have you ever felt like you can't change the system that you're living in, where there are so many things working against you that it feels impossible to even try? It is my fundamental belief, the concept for this channel, that we can design our lives and impact the systems that we work in. We all have agency. You don't know where the feather will land, ripple, and have an impact on something much further down the line that you wouldn't even see. In this video, we're going to unpack a strategic framework for how to go about systems level evolution. The biggest mistake most people make when they're trying to influence a system is that they think about it in a straight line. Systems are interwoven webs of different factors, barriers, things happening. We cannot think about this in a linear way. In my work, I use a strategic framework by Amy Webb, outlined and explained in not so much depth in an HBR article, and a link to that is in the comments down below. Systems are complex, and change, evolution, emergence is not going to happen from one initiative or change within that system. You need multiple things in a targeted way. We want to set up whatever initiatives we have for the most optionality, keeping as many of our options open in order to take advantage of risk and uncertainty. And that is a concept that I got from my favorite book, Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. I talk about this all the time. It's really changed how I think about and structure my initiatives in the work that I do. The second piece of information I have at my disposal is my background in organizational psychology. And this is about people in systems and the specific system of an organization and business. So these three things, the strategic framework, Anti-Fragile and all of its concepts, and the resources I draw on about human psychology in organizations and systems, are the things I weave together to structure the initiatives to have the most impact, both short and long term, and in the event of things we cannot predict. So if we look at this cone initially, you see 4 broad buckets. As you span further down the cone, it becomes broader. There is more uncertainty introduced. We have less information to make decisions from. Most strategy teams in organizations only look up until corporate strategy, that strategy bucket right there in the middle. But to influence and impact systems in a real way, you also have to consider the vision and the systems level evolution that we're looking for. In that way, we know the things that we should prioritize in the now and in our strategy to lead us in that direction. If we forget about those two, yes, there are strategies in the now and tactics in the now that could be great, but they might not, or probably won't, move us in the direction of the change we are seeking to make between interrelated factors or between the barriers that we saw about women in automotive design in the previous video. Anti-Fragile has taught me to factor in that large-scale shifts and uncertainty can take place, that we can't know all the risks as we structure our initiatives and tactics in the now, so we need to make decisions that keep as many of our opportunities open to disruption or uncertainty as we can. Organizational psychology has taught me 2 things that are relevant here, many other things, but these 2. 1, organizations themselves can be tipping points for change at a systems level within society. All it takes is one organization to lead the way for other organizations to recognize that this other company, this other thing might get a competitive advantage. If they are doing this, we should be doing it too. And then you start to see the pieces move in the direction of the systems level evolution that we want. The second piece, which is imperative, is that any initiative or action that we take needs to have a concrete business value. If it doesn't have a direct impact on development or revenue, then it is going to be the first thing that gets cut when something needs to get cut within a space. So an initiative needs to always have at least 2 purposes, and I would say 3 or 4 for it to have a real strength in the whole suite of tools that we have in our toolkit. It needs to have a tangible impact in the direction that we're moving, in this case, opening more opportunities or removing barriers for women in automotive design. And second, it needs to have a direct impact on the revenue of the business, on what is important for the business. It can't be a secondary value of the business, because we all know that in organizations, the secondary values are deprioritized to the primary values, whether it's speed, whether it's efficiency, whether it's profit. That is what the initiative needs to have a concrete impact on. Rant over. So looking at this Miro, we see spanning from execution, the things we know rarely concrete in the now, all the way up to systems level evolution. It takes years. We're going to apply this strategic framework and look at different factors that we can execute in the now that can feed into our strategy that we have and then evolve into the vision that we hope to see and the long-term impact, the evolution at a systems level. The vision: all people have a thriving career in automotive design. We've gone over why that's important in some previous videos. Check that out if you're interested in it. The strategy is that an organization needs to make the best products. Simply put, we know that people with diverse perspectives make better products than teams that don't have that. So one competitive advantage that an organization can have is to have people of these different perspectives able to actually contribute value to a space. So business impact, directly tangible. And that is how we need to tie the things that we're doing, the initiatives that we have, to a strategy that is going to benefit the company. And then we look at initiatives, the things that we need to execute in the now. How do we start to unravel this complex system? Well, let's look at two things as examples. First, education barriers. We see it's a gendered profession. We see women are not choosing it to go for higher education. It's predominantly male in the university spaces. We also have this interesting thing from car design specifically, which is that internships in the education space are treated almost like proper jobs. Interns come in and they are expected to perform at the same kind of standard as somebody early on in their career. So companies are using a lens of looking at students to be almost fully professional. Whereas if internships were more of a developmental thing, then you could look at a candidate and see, oh, maybe this woman doesn't have the characteristics that we previously value. She has other things that other candidates have. And so those are two kind of education barriers. How do we go about structuring initiatives that can move the dial on this? One is that organizations can work with universities to create more awareness about car design as a career. Organizations can put pressure on universities to do this themselves by having requirements from universities. We're only going to take students for internships if you up the ratio year on year of male to female design students. Another thing is that organizations can request and put more pressure on universities to have more diverse lecturers in their spaces. And this can role model for young women that this is a career path for you. And then, of course, organizations can have a focus on developing female students. There is unconscious bias wrapped up in why one might choose one intern over another. Some interns might have the specific characteristics that organizations would want to see in early career phases. For example, being able to confidently communicate about why and how they did this specific design. That could be perceived as a very male characteristic because men have been guided through their life to be confident, to take up space, whereas women are not. And so if that is something that an organization values, they may be losing out on really good candidates. If they take a focus on developing female students, then they can start to realize the other good qualities that other types of people bring and maybe work on the things that are missing, such as confident communication. And I will say one more thing on the education barrier. If car companies were developing products that weren't traditionally male and masculine, which cars are perceived as, I've never heard someone in the automotive space say, this car is too masculine, I don't like it. But I have heard them say, this car is too feminine. There is bias, of course, in this. If companies were producing more products that were agnostic of gender, then maybe children would be looking at these products and not immediately think, this is only for men, this is only for boys, I shouldn't touch this. Another very important aspect to start to address is psychological safety. How can you start doing this? Well, we know in car design that managers are generally promoted because they were good designers, not necessarily because they're great leaders. Organizations can give design managers, people managers, very specific leadership training, including unconscious bias training. Organizations, as we said before, can also put in clear progression criteria. If people have a clear understanding of what performance means in a space, then they can much more easily understand if they are meeting the criteria that is explicit, not the underlying assumptions that usually exist in very specific subcultures. Another small low-hanging fruit is that organizations can form internal support groups for people, and that can help women in a space validate that the thing they encountered in that meeting was not okay. they can bounce that with other people, get perspective on it, and not feel like they are crazy for being offended by something that someone else said. Of course, as we go down the line, these initiatives in the now will start to have effect on other things. If we create more opportunities within a space for women, we become closer to creating products that are more agnostic of gender. If you have more women in a space, they might be able to say, this product is too masculine. There will probably be less chance someone is saying, this product is too feminine. Then you can change the perspective on the gendered profession. Boys and girls can start to see the automotive industry as a space that they can engage with because the products are also for them. And if we build in very specific progression and what performance means in these spaces, you'll start to have more women entering into leadership positions. And when you have equality within leadership, you have more balanced decision-making, less unconscious bias in hiring because there are more women considering candidates. You also start to have female decision makers. And that is how you meet the business objectives. The strategy then is that we make better products. Why do we make better products? Because we have more balanced decision making. And next thing you know, we're 10 years, 15 years down the line, and women and men have equal spaces in automotive design. Yes, it's naive. Yes, it's wishful thinking. But if we don't start to think about these things, have a dialogue about these things, understand how we can structure change in the now that can lead to a vision and a systems level evolution long term, we're never going to get anywhere. I hope this has been thought-provoking for you and interesting for you. I have rambled a little bit in this. I will end on the note that we all have power and agency within our life to make a change. We either leave a situation, we change a situation, or we accept a situation. Too many women have accepted that to have the career they've always wanted in automotive design, they have to endure or ignore. What I'm saying now is you can speak up. It is time that women have the power in this space. And with social media, with organizations recognizing the need for difference, I see this power dynamic shifting. So take advantage of it, do what you can. And if you're interested in having more dialogue with me, you know where to find me. I will see you in the next one.